Tonight, Paul Teutul Sr. from Orange County Choppers is here with the charity. First, thanks for being here tonight. Thanks. I'm happy to be here. They were the best at customizing bikes, and on Discovery Channel, they turned wrenches into gold. But when the cameras stopped rolling, the stars of American Chopper had nothing left. Filings for bankruptcy showed bills in the millions of dollars. Family members were suing each other. After fighting for $250,000, one son never came back. Another fought addiction while his dad kicked him out. The TV show house lost its title and had to be sold. The business empire came tumbling down. You'll be shocked at what happened to each of them. They are now spread out across the land. John Paul Teutul Sr. He used to shout orders while making dream motorcycles. He stood in Orange County Choppers like a king, with his big arms folded and sunglasses on. A loud voice could be heard in the shop. Paul Teutul Sr. did more than just build bikes. He was a brand, a TV star, and a picture of toughness from the old school. Fans cheered for every show, even when engines roared and tempers flared. Behind the scenes, though, the kingdom was already breaking down. By February 2018, everything had become very bad. When he filed for Chapter 13 bankruptcy, he quietly told the court that he owed almost $1,070,800 ringgit to more than 50 different creditors. It said that he had what, 1,729 in assets. The truth was even worse, though. He made $15,070 a month, which is 93 RDS, but he had to spend $12,612 just to stay alive. Not much was left. Fans used to be happy to see him build a mansion in Montgomery, New York, which is now in foreclosure. In 2019, he had to sell it for only $1.5 million. He asked for more than twice that. Because every penny was important, the sale even had tools and farm animals. But the money problems weren't the only bad thing that happened. Thomas Derbyshire, his business partner, sued him for theft in 2017. Derbyshire put $3 million into a new show to help it get off the ground, but Paul Sr. spent it all. Laws in court told the real story. He put off shooting for a whole week so he could go fishing. He wouldn't work with people they already hired. Without telling anyone, he took money from the budget to pay his son Michael's salary. He even did trades on the side, like getting free stuff for his shop and swapping dog food for his girlfriend's animal rescue project. Every move was kept secret. There were no records of any deals. The law then got even more crazy. He didn't pay $17,000 to JTM Motorsports in 2019, so a federal judge found him in contempt of court. They had worked on his 2009 Corvette ZR1 before. He didn't pay them. Besides that, he owed the town of Crawford $151,230.90 in back taxes. Besides that, he owed $21,300 on credit cards, and that wasn't all. There were claims that he was involved in a plan that stole $12 to $15 million from investors in Central America. It had everything to do with his Florida OCC Roadhouse project. He packed up and left New York by March 2020. The first store that made him famous was closed. Moving everything to Clearwater, Florida, he began again with the OCC Museum and Roadhouse. It was still a big name. Still, the bikes were loud. But the glory was gone. There was no more money. There was no longer any trust. He's 76 years old now, but he still builds bikes and acts like the good old days never ended on YouTube. I am Paul Teutul Jr. Paul Teutul Jr. used to be the face of a huge business company. He made unique helicopters that amazed everyone. The Discovery Channel showed his work. He and his father, Paul Sr., worked together to make Orange County Choppers a well-known business. But fame didn't last forever, and what began as a dream turned into fights in court, betrayals, and debt that almost wiped out everything he had worked for. In 2008, when American Chopper was at the top of its fame, things started to go wrong. When Paul Sr. yelled at his son, cameras were rolling. It was an old fight. They had a fight for years over who really made the choices. This time, though, it went further. Paul Sr. fired his son in front of everyone on TV. Junior was gone in an instant. There is no building, no bikes, and no crew. The business still had his name on it, though. He had a 20% stake in Orange County Choppers. That is where the real war began. Sr. did not want his son to have any property. He used a buyout option that was hidden in their business contract. One that would let him kick Junior out for good. But instead of giving the 20% a fair value, Sr.'s own assessor said it was worth nothing. Nothing. The son who helped build the business and created the bikes that made them famous was now told that his share had no value at all. Junior fought back. He went to court. And by December 2010, he had won the case. The deal was thrown out by the judges. They never agreed on the best way to figure out the value. Paul Jr. kept his share, but the damage had already been done. The business had become a war, and the family was broken up. They agreed to a short-term truce in 2009 to try to save the Discovery Channel deal, but the tension never went away. There was no longer any trust. So Junior began again. He set up his own business called Paul Jr. Designs and moved his store to Ship Bottom, New Jersey. He didn't have the original cast, the old barn, or the support of a bunch of reality show stars. He did have his own hands, style, and name, though. Big names called Mercedes-Benz, Microsoft, and Cadillac. He made each of them their own helicopter. People still looked at the bikes and stopped. But behind the success, problems with money began to show up. The numbers told the real story by March 2018. John Paul Jr. put in for Chapter 13 bankruptcy. His assets were worth $180011700 ring 29s, but his bills were almost as much. $1,070 of 893 farmland that was burned down. Besides that, he due $51, $30, and $98 in taxes. His $1.8 million home in Montgomery, New York, was his most valuable asset. Something was wrong because that house wasn't strong enough to keep things together. It fell slowly and hurt a lot. They were still famous, but they didn't have any money. Paul Jr. is still in the game right now. He goes to events for high-end motorcycles. He checks out fancy events on the concourse. He still makes bikes. He helped build a kingdom, but he's no longer a part of it. His time with Orange County Choppers was over without him. His current net worth is only $2 million, which is a very small amount compared to what it could have been. People from all over the world saw the bikes he made. He helped a family shop become known all over the world. He lost the shop, the name, and the man who taught him everything in the end. It only took 10 years for him to go from being a TV star to in bankruptcy court, but he kept growing. A lot of people watched American Chopper because of the loud engines, the handmade bikes, and the crazy fights between Paul Sr. and Paul Jr. But there was always one person who made things better. It wasn't Mikey Teutul who was making bikes. He wasn't yelling or hurling tools. He told jokes, answered the phone, and cleaned up around the Orange County Choppers shop. He added some softness to a show that was mostly hard metal. But most people didn't see that Mikey wasn't really fighting with his family. It was just him. It was with the bottle. The drinking began in silence. It was almost like background noise for him. But as the years went by, that noise got worse. Mikey's drug use hurt more than just him. Everything in his world fell apart. The business was built from scratch by his father, Paul Sr., and he was tired of it. It wasn't just a break. Mikey was kicked out of Orange County Choppers by Paul Sr. Everything was taken away at once, the shop, the show, and the family business. Fans noticed that Mikey was not showing in as many episodes. He wasn't at the builds. He wasn't nearby. A lot of people wanted to know what was going on, but the truth was much worse than anyone thought. Mikey was finally so low that he had no choice but to go to rehab. He had to fight for his life or lose everything. He kept getting into trouble even after he got clean. A photographer named Scott Gunnell sued Mikey, Paul Sr., and Orange County Choppers in 2019 for stealing his work. They took pictures of Mikey back in 2013. The same pictures began to appear on the show, on Facebook sites, and on merchandise. Hoodies cost $39.99 and t-shirts cost $19.95. One of the pictures that he used for Mikey's art show had his name cut off. It wasn't okay with him. A federal judge decided in Gunnell's favor on February 18, 2020. Paul Sr. had to pay $258,484.45 because he used the pictures without permission. An already hurt family took a huge hit from it. They had been through years of legal and mental trouble. Things got worse with money after that. Mikey paid $550,000 for a house from his mother, Paula, in 2004. Montgomery, New York, was a peaceful spot. But in 2009, after 5 years, he had to sell that house for only $460,000. The amount of money he lost was $90,000. His net worth went from $2 million to $1 million over time. It wasn't just about money. It was about how his life was getting smaller in every way. Fame was going away. His name wasn't connected to bikes or laughing anymore. Lawsuits, drug use, and quiet were all linked to it. Mikey didn't give up though. Getting back on his feet after rehab, court cases, and losing the family home was the first thing he did. He went back to Orange County Choppers. Not as a star, but as the assistant general manager. He was in charge of the Facebook page. He kept things going. It was a small part, but it was steady. He also set up his own business, FarQ Products LLC, and started selling gourmet pasta sauces that he made himself. No longer was it about becoming popular, it was about making something real. There, he started an art gallery. Sculptures made of metal and drawings were put inside. They were the kind of things that could talk without making noise. Vinny DiMartino III. Vinny DiMartino left Orange County Choppers in August 2007 with his tools in hand. He worked there for 5 years and built some of the most famous bikes the show had ever shown. Fans liked how calm he was, how clean his lines were, and how skilled he was. But when Paul Teutul Sr. turned in his notice, he looked right at the camera and said, "Anyone can be replaced. No thank you, no shake of hands, and no respect." Vinny was hit by a cold sentence more than any other blow. That's all he did, he left. He wasn't done yet, though. He teamed up with Cody Connolly, another young builder from OCC. They also opened V-Force Customs together in Rock Tavern, New York. They didn't waste time. People came in, bikes were built, and the shop got off to a good start. Vinny was back on TV in 2010 in American Chopper, Senior vs. Junior, where he worked with Paul Jr. In the show's 65 episodes, he was in 55 of them. It looked like things were finally going to work out for 4 seasons. It felt like a dream. There were fast changes going on outside the shop, though. Then there was a crash. The financial collapse of 2008 wasn't just bad for banks and stocks. It wiped out the world of handmade motorcycles. The market for handmade choppers had gone away by the end of 2013. Not many people bought. The society that used to keep shops and shows going had died out. It didn't matter how good Vinny's work was. There were none left to buy. It got worse and worse. V-Force Customs couldn't last. Vinny sold the tools that had helped him build his dream one by one. Gone are the lathes, welders, and paint guns. It was a quiet end to his business. There was no stage or send-off. There was only the sound of doors shutting and dreams coming in. In the same year, Vinny made a hard turn. He opened DiMartino Motorsports in Montgomery with the little money he still had. It wasn't about expensive bikes or cable TV this time. The goal was to keep the lights on. He used to make unique helicopters for people all over the world, but now he fixes cars and light trucks for people in his area. There are no fans leaning over the ropes or cameras in the shop. There is only grease, tools, and honest work. His net worth is thought to be around $1 million right now. That number may seem small for someone who was on a popular reality show, but he worked hard to get there without using any shortcuts or routines. When Vinny left in 2007, he showed something. He did not need Paul Sr.'s okay. He was able to live without fame. He only needed to believe in himself enough to start over. He kept going even when things went wrong. Rick Petco. Rick Petco got up in Pennsylvania every day and drove 90 minutes to get to work for 13 years. After each day, he went back and did it again. That's 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, stuck in traffic between trucks and taillights just to get to the shop on TV that makes the most noise. Rick did that every day like a machine from July 2003 to 2016. At Orange County Choppers, the Teutul screamed, broke furniture, and threw wrenches all over the place. But Rick kept making bikes and showing up. The road was eating away at his life, but no one on TV saw it. He got paid a lot for it. Rick made an extra $13,000 on top of his usual OCC salary every time he was in an episode. The checks added up. His net worth had grown to about $1.75 million by the time he left. But that cash cost something that wasn't shown on the screen. The store was a mess. There were cameras all the time. There were real fights. And Rick spent more time with his car's driving wheel than with his wife. He got married in 2012. That made everything different. He became aware of how much of his life was being taken away. A lot of time spent driving. It took a lot of energy to listen to Senior and Junior scream about due dates, frames, and loyalty. He was well known after the show. He was rich, but he wasn't happy. Rick did something in 2016 that most people talk about but never do. He left, not any more TVs. No more extra money for each show, and no more driving for an hour and a half just to walk into a crowd of angry people. Rick put his tools away and moved. And not just to Pennsylvania. It's too close to home. This time, he would start his new job soon. He joined Pocono Mountain Harley-Davidson in Stroudsburg, where the ride to work didn't kill him. He was honest with the Pocono record. That was great for a while. Still, it wasn't what I was all about. He now works from his own farm. He opened a company called RPD & Co. Others and makes knives and wedding bands by hand for people who ask for them. He likes to go to motorbike shows with his family. Once more, he makes things with his hands, without yelling, cameras, or drama. Cody Connolly, I. Cody Connolly started flying choppers in Orange County when he was only 14. In 2001, most kids his age were still trying to figure out their chores. But Cody already had soldering tools in his hands and was watching the Teutul family on TV and learning from them. He wasn't just a kid in the background. People saw him grow up year after year until he was one of the youngest and best bike builders they had ever seen on TV. He even got his own build called the Cody Project in the first season. Also, it wasn't just for show. In 2003, that bike was sold at Daytona Beach Bike Week. It looked like Cody had everything for a while. Paul Teutul Sr. even paid for him to keep learning by going to the American Motorcycle Institute. It looked like a dream at first. But quickly, the truth came out. Cody left in October 2007. He was only 20 years old, but the stop wasn't working right. Everyone who ever watched the show was shocked when he sued Paul Sr. and Orange County Choppers. The boy that everyone cheered for was now suing the man who used to call him family. Cody said that his picture was still on goods after he left. He gave him colored books, posters, and other things, but they never paid him a dime for them. It wasn't even the money that hurt the most. That moment was caught on film. Cody was given the keys to a handmade chopper by Paul Sr., who said it belonged to him. Cody said he didn't get that bike. The keys were only for the crowd and not for real life. He asked for $250,000 in court costs. Cody said he didn't know what his rights were at the time when people asked him why he waited so long. He was young. The case went on until 2011, when it was finally settled without going to court. No exciting finish. Don't say sorry in public, just be quiet. Soon after, Cody stopped being involved with motorcycles at all. He had grown up in the movie business, but now it was behind him. He started a new business in Pine Bush, New York called Revel Ranch Excavation. It is a demolition company. At this point, he deals with dirt, septic systems, clearing land, and drains. He's married and has a kid. Not even on social media does he post very often. The boy who used to weld gas tanks for the camera now digs in the dirt away from the camera. Kevin Pohl. Then there was artist Jason Pohl, who started working at OCC in early 2004. He was just an artist making digital birds for a pinball game before the show. However, Paul Sr. liked his work and hired him as the head designer. Many people were amazed by Jason's ideas at first. His crazy ideas and tech skills made him look like he was from another time. The web didn't love him, though. They really didn't like him. People who saw him called him cocky. Fans said he was using message boards to protect himself. Someone on a blog even said that Jason was the most hated person on American Chopper and that he probably knew it. People often said that his drawings didn't look like real bikes. Again and again, Paul Sr. had to tell him that a sketch had to turn into something that could ride. The worst part was when Paul Sr. lost it over one of Jason's builds and called it a cake maker during the Senior vs. Junior spinoff. Jason cried in front of the camera. He told them that the drawings hurt him, and hearing the boss trash his work in front of everyone broke him. During the 2011 build-off between Jesse James and OCC Paul Jr., Jason helped make a strange bike that looked like a tank and had flamethrowers on it. Things did not go well. The internet did a laugh. Some very serious bikers rolled their eyes. Some people said it didn't look like a motorbike but like something from a video game. That joke stuck with Jason. By February 2018, OCC was ending. It was Paul Sr. who filed for Chapter 13 bankruptcy. He owed more than $66,000 on credit cards and was being sued 8 times. After that, Jason's time on screen went down quickly. He left for good in March 2020. He never looked back after moving to Florida in 2021. He is now a SolidWorks brand spokesperson. He makes things that aren't bike shops or TV cameras. It is thought that he is worth about $700,000. There will be no more yelling or fire. There will only be 3D models, software, and peace. Hi, Nick Hansford. While the other Orange County Choppers cast members fought in public and in court, Nick Hansford was making bikes and keeping his life together. The two of them had trained together at the American Motorcycle Institute in Florida. They both had bigger goals than the shops they worked in. In his early years, Nick learned new skills at Pompano Fats and Daytona Choppers. But it was Bike Week in 2000 that really changed everything. That's where he met Paul Teutul Sr., who saw the quiet confidence in him and hired him as a mechanic and distributor at OCC. Nick left Florida 2 years later, in 2002, and went to New York to be with his family. He would never be the same after that choice. He became a full-time worker at the OCC shop and worked there for 17 years straight. Until 2019, he was a regular on American Chopper and Orange County Choppers. Nick didn't say a word while people yelled at each other on TV or in court. He just worked hard. He stayed away from the cases, fights, bankruptcies, and other trouble. He never became famous, but he did become steady, which is a better thing. He now lives in Virginia with his wife and at least 2 children. No one is sure what he does for a living. He doesn't write or say anything. He just stopped being seen by everyone. By choice. Hey, Christian Walter. His story was just as steady, but it had a different twist. He was born in New Jersey on September 9, 1978. He also went to the American Motorcycle Institute and slept in the same room as Nick Hansford. Everything would start with that one buddy link. Christian joined OCC during the first season in 2002. He wasn't showy or loud. He didn't start fights. He did some work. He was the shop foreman and head mechanic, so he was in charge of wiring, putting together, and doing most of the technical work on every special chopper that left the shop. As Paul Sr. and Jr. yelled and stormed off, Christian checked the bikes from the back to make sure they worked. He dodged all the public disasters that the rest of the crew did. In 2018, Paul Sr. filed for bankruptcy because his monthly bills were more than $12,600. Christian wasn't a part of it. He had kept his job. He had cleaned up. Since he was 12, he had been taking individual drum lessons for 7 years. They made a band when Steve Moreau, the general manager of OCC, found out. They worked out in the boiler room and even put out a 10-song record. Christian said they rushed it and didn't really show what they could do, but it did happen. He worked at OCC until 2016, and then he left in a quiet way. There were no cases, news stories, or meltdowns. Just years of steady work and quiet exits. Daniel Teutul. He wasn't on the show, and he didn't fight or start public fires like Paul Jr. or Paul Sr. But what happened to him almost destroyed the kingdom. Daniel was after Paul Sr. in age. And in 2004, he took over OC Ironworks, the family's first business. It seemed like a gift, but there was something else going on behind the scenes. In 2007, a sad report was made by a bankruptcy trustee named Tom Genova. He said Daniel and his family had taken everything valuable from OC Ironworks, moving goods, workers, and money into a new business called Orange County Ironworks LLC without paying the right amount of money for them. The old business shut down. The debtors didn't get anything. It was more than just bad business. It was said to be theft. Daniel was only 32 years old when everything was over in December 2008, and he had to pay a huge fine. $500,000 was told to be paid. Paul Sr. and Paul Jr. only had to pay $50,000 between them. Daniel got 10 times as much in jail time as they did. Most Americans made around $40,000 a year at the time. It wasn't just a fine. The ball smashed things. Daniel didn't give up, though. He didn't cry on TV. Neither did he file for bankruptcy. He went back to work. He worked for years to change the business's name and make it bigger. He made a second business called Gabriel Steel. By 2024, he had grown his business from 35 workers to 69. Even more surprising is the fact that he built the huge OCC offices. It was the one that made his brothers famous on TV. He was never praised for it. He was never the brand's face. But behind the scenes, he really did help build it all. His brothers got into fights in front of cameras and lost millions of dollars. But Daniel turned a $50,000 scandal into one of the best steel businesses in New York.